it was something that told me, all right, Swan, if you really want, or all right, Chirac, if you really want to be that nigga, if you really want to be that guy, then you have to put forth the effort. You have to keep walking, and you have to make them know it.
Love that. Anybody else like to share?
Yeah. This is Bianca. Favorite color is fluorescent beige. And I got top for drag realness.
No, just playing no, but straight up, yeah. But so I think I share similar sentiments as Shara. For me, I've I haven't been chopped in every place, but when I did get chopped, um, there was one time I got chopped and I knew that it was shade. I knew that the person chopped me because they didn't, because I, regardless of whatever it was, they chopped me because they not didn't like me. So I didn't let that get to me. I didn't, and I seen that happen a lot of times. I seen somebody knowing that a person don't like them, and they get chopped and now they want to fight or stuff like that. And it's like, you got to prepare yourself before you go into this space that you're being judged, and you may be judged by some people that you may have rubbed the wrong way. So whatever the outcome may be, you know what I'm saying, you kind of like gambling with that. But also chopped for my effect, for realness. So I never been chopped for not being real, but I've been chopped because it asks for. It was crazy too. At that time, I thought it was shade, but then when they broke it down to me, it wasn't. Because sometimes in the moment you may think it's shade. You're like, no, I put everything to this. I went and got ready for this, and I know I brought it with the category called for. It asked for a touch of white, and I had white spots all over my shirt. And it was like, it's not a touch of white. I'm like, bitch, these little bitty spots is a touch. But when somebody else came up there with just the white polo on their shirt, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Oh. So you also can't take things internal. We internalize things and, you know, get in our head and we create more issues. Sometimes it may just be not just a touch.
And the important part about it for me is being chopped is asking for the critique afterwards. Because we go and we think that it's because they don't see it for us. It's because we really not real. It's because we really didn't perform. But a lot of times, if we actually listen to the critique, there may have been an opportunity for improvement. So not to take everything as shade, but take it as an opportunity, to learn a lesson to improve. Not, but on the opposite end, every judge is not out there to help or give those proper critiques. But if you're consistent, if you want to ask those questions, there are people who would say, "Hey, you real," But like he said, you had more than just a touch. You look like a Dalmatian up there, So it just honestly, yeah. Listen to the critiques and always put your best foot forward.
All right. So, in the lesson of emoting, and you just leave it somewhere in neutral space so that we not start answering. In the lesson of emoting, right, in regards to our emotions inside of ballroom. So, for those who have never been chopped, I just hope that you did listen actively to the stories of people who have been chopped, and just observing how different people perceived their moment, right? It's not a rocket science to know that everybody throughout ballroom has been chopped. There's have not found any one single individual who has never been chopped. Okay, it's kind of inevitable, to say the least. Um, However, in navigating our emotions in the scene, right, you always just want to make sure that you are receiving everything the proper way, so that your emotions are not dictating or reflecting something that it ultimately shouldn't. Because we've seen time and time again in the scene, whether it's here, New York, Atlanta, West Coast, that violence does occur. And so ultimately, most times it is revolving around something that took place at this event, which shouldn't be that serious, right? But because again, though sometimes we are not in control of our emotions at that moment, those type of outcomes happen. But I do believe that with knowledge there is power, right? So when you do have the knowledge that to understand what's going on at the present moment, kind of like Dion said, in his situation, he's been chopped for different things. Like, obviously there was shade involved, and then in other instances, it just wasn't the category, right? So we have to be able to, in both cases, understand how to move forward, right? So even in times where somebody may shade you, it's not for you to just, go off and, because I mean, what is that actually going to change ultimately? Nothing. It's going to be another ball the next time. And that moment still stands the test of time. It's always going to forever be that moment at that point, right? So that ultimately was the discussion about around emoting. So let's get into the topic of tonight, which is resume building. All right. So on your sheet of paper, I want you to write your ballroom name, and I also want you to write how this name became a name. If y'all need pen and paper, I got you. All right, so on the top, you're gonna write your ballroom name, and then the first thing I want to know about you on this resume is how did you come up with this said name? It could have been. I'm gonna tell y'all a little story while y'all write. So how the Paris became into fruition was I was already like in the scene, wasn't like doing drag just yet. Was a fresh little, gay boy out of the closet, living my best gay life. And at the time, my gay mother's name was Zakari, and she spelled it XXKA something like that, but it started with X. And so one day I had woke up, I was like, I want a name like your name. And I spent all day intertwining different things that started with an X. And ultimately, I ended up with Zapiris, not knowing that their name was sticking me to the test of time, right? So that was my story of how Zapiris, came into fruition, right? And why would y'all think that that is important, or is an important piece of your resume? One at a time. Somebody grab the mic. Yeah, there you go. Don't be shy. You gotta say group channel 52. No, we need it for the recording purposes. Hello. Hello. Okay, I can hear me now. I was gonna say it's what ultimately brings you. It is what ultimately brings you. Okay. Anybody else? Why is your name an important piece of your resume? Go ahead, pass it on. Like it used to be.
How you got your name?
Both. Your name and how it became.
I guess your name, it honestly is gonna follow you throughout your whole ballroom career, which is why it's important. But how you got your name, it's kind of a piece of, like Devontae said, it kind of defines who you are. And the fact that you decide to carry that name, it means something to you.
Okay. All right, I'll go. I like to talk, so I'll just be quiet.
Take your space and then back up a little bit.
You good.
But for me, I think your name is important because before you get to any house, before you get that last name, you want to make sure that first name is, something. And that's like you said, something that's gonna follow you everywhere, it's gonna define you. And ultimately, it's like it's it has to be Dion. They had to be before Juicy. They need to know that Dion himself is a person, is whoever that is. He carries this possession, whether he's a Juicy, whether he's a Nike, whether he's a West or Ebony. So I think that's important to make sure it's a name. It's your reputation.
Love that.
Hi. How did I get my name? A lot of people ask me that because the first when I got in Ballroom, they had a J Rock Milan. And they had a J Rock Con. And they was like, are you gonna keep like Why do you call yourself J Rock? I'm not changing my name. And the reason why I wasn't changing my name is because I grew up in ROTC and I used to just say J because my last name was Johnson. So when I got to the ship, when I got to the ship in the Navy, they started saying J Rock because it was two electricians on the ship. One was Stephen Calhoun and then Cedric Johnson. He was the pit, I was the rock, right? And we was the two dogs down in the, I know it may sound like hazing or something with them, but when we was in the engineering space, if you came through the engineering space, you had to get through you had to get through the dogs and you had to get through the rock and the pit. The rock. They started calling me J Rock. And then when I got off the ship and went to New Orleans, I liked the name, so I had it in my dashboard, in my suede dashboard, and it was like J Rock. And everybody used to get in the car when they used to say, "What's your name?" They say Cedric, and they'll say, "Well, who is J Rock?" So New Orleans just kept saying J Rock or even Cedric, but then I just started saying my name J Rock because when I started like really coming out in gay and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't really want these crazy people to know my real name because when I went to New Orleans, they was throwing baskets at people and beating bitches up. And I was like, I don't want them to know my real name, and then they get associated with what I really do in real life. So I said, this is a good way to be J Rock. But then I started developing a persona with J Rock, and I liked it. I liked that I could be this person at night, and I could be gay as I fucking wanna be, right? And then when it's time for Monday, go back to Chief Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Cedric Johnson or whatever. But when J Rock come out, a lot of people told me, and what made me really love it is when somebody showed it to me. They said, "You different when you're on that microphone because when you're on a microphone, it gives like, I'm like, I don't be that case." But then I accepted it though. But that's where I got J Rock from. It came from the Navy, but then I accepted it for gay life. And what I wanted to tell y'all is with y'all name, if y'all do have a name that you really like, but you find out somebody else got it in ballroom, make it a mission in ballroom to when they say their name, who they gonna remember. Because if you put J Rock with no name, ask them who the fuck that is in ballroom. Right, but somebody might say that. Somebody might say J Rock Milan. But we already know what they're gonna say.
You gotta put that to the test.
You gotta put it to the test sometimes.
All right.
Oh,
Okay. Go ahead.
that's not your name?
What's your girl
for
name?
my name is Camille, of course. And I got that name from Camille McDonald, who was on America's Next Top Model. You know, the one who said, "This is my signature walk, and this is what's gonna make me famous." And it's just like for me in drag, I wanted my persona to be that level of confidence, and ultimately, that's kind of how I stuck with that. So that's how I came up with that, and I feel like now I embody kind of that, especially as Camille. So that's
We good? All right, so the next thing, we have our name, how we got our name. The next thing I want you to put on your resume is, what was the year that Ballrooms stood out and or made its presence known to you, and who ultimately influenced you to walk for the first time? Okay, so when did Ballroom first appear to you, and who ultimately, you need a pen and paper on? Is it let's have it.
yeah.
All right. So I was writing story time. So the reason why I asked you when did Ballroom make its presence known to you is because although I was already integrated into the gay scene, Ballroom was already a thing. It was something, and I specifically remember they threw the Harajuku Ball at 2020. And in this era of my life, I was just into, like I said, coming out, being in the gay scene, just being gay. You know, J-Set was my thing. Like, I was coming to the club, ready to dance with my girls and go back home. And unfortunately, this night, I did not know they were having a ball. So Here they go interrupting the whole floor tonight, and they was just carrying on. And I'm like, girl, when is this shit gonna be over? Everybody want to see this shit. Like, what the fuck is going on? Just going off. Bitch, that ball ass to the end of the club. I was over it. I said, you know what? Fuck this shit. Over it. About like, I want to say 6 months later, they had another ball, and I was performing at what a club that we used to call Colors, True Colors, in Houston. And um, I remember watching what's his name? What was his name? The twister with the dreads. Not Zayn. Was it Zayn? No, not Zayn. The other one. He just came back. Yeah, he was in Mizrahi. Oh my god. I just can't remember his name because I just literally seen him who was in Houston. But now he got a fade. You know, he's a people favorite. Vogue film. Zay? That's his name? Yeah, Zay. Okay, yeah. Yes, exactly. So, seeing him go out there for LSS and he was telling Johnny Ebony. And I was just like, bitch, I want a piece now. Not knowing nothing. That night, funny thing is, I ended up making it to last battle against me and Zay. And he went, he went out, but that's what started my barbering career, right? And so that story is vital to you because again, when you are now influencing someone else who, is ultimately coming to the scene, you want to tell your history, how you became, what sparked this, what sparked that, because that is it's always gonna stick with you. You will never forget that moment. That's one of those moments that just will never leave you. Okay. So would anybody like to share their moment where Ballroom became a thing to you? And who ultimately was it? Huh? Yeah, because your story is really funny. Yeah.
So I was introduced to Ballroom like 2017, 2018 era-ish. I had went to a function. I don't know if it was mainstream or Kiki, honestly. I don't know because I was getting kind of naive to Ballroom world. They had it was during Pride weekend or Juneteenth, one of those big weekends we have here. And I just fell in love with it because I seen the guy, he's still so ghetto, so dingy, so cracked.
Was it at the old club,
No,
Deja Vu?
No, it wasn't Deja Vu. It was at some hotel somewhere. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you took your ball.
It was a hotel somewhere, and it was the guy. I remember specifically with the Gottis and the Ebonies, and the Ebonies had got me up so bad because they get that chant, that E P O, that chant, it just do something to me. Like it did something to me. And yeah, I'm gonna come back to this. So I would just only go to the balls during Pride weekend because I didn't know the avenue to take. One day, randomly, I got off work and went to Marty, to the Paris there, and they was doing like the Kiki nights or whatever. So I started going every Wednesday to see what it was about. And actually, the Paris and Micah was the ones who actually pushed me to even really take it serious. One day, she like, Paris like, just go out there and walk. Just go out there. What's the worst that could happen? I got chopped by Gila ass. And then like from there, I gained a little love for her. So next thing you know, Nikki started coming to me and started telling me stuff. Her and saying, well, I was just coming to me, oh, you're so cute, so pretty. And then I remember it was a parents one day made me some things to go walk. So I went to go walk. And then since then, that was that.
See?
Works of parents.
Well, the Ebony, see? The first people who influenced them was the Ebony. You gotta catch that. It was the Ebony. Work Ebony.
Them guys, I don't know if got into the house or not, but I liked them too. I liked them.
They were a family that became involved with them.
Oh, okay.
Now that they split up, some of them are out and some of them are still just got each
My start literally was just last year. This is very low coming from you. I actually got into ballroom because of my good friend here, my father. Um, we worked together, and I think in the beginning, because we worked at home and we couldn't see each other and really feel for each other. I don't know. For me, I don't know how he was feeling, but for me, I wasn't feeling him. I I was like, girl, you mad, girl. I'm not into that. Girl, calm down. But no, once we got into the office, like we literally like hit it off, and like I don't know, my journey was a little bit different because I am, a woman of trans experience, get into it. And I've been living this life for a long time, like literally for 10 years, y'all already. And so I was living my heterosexual life, honey, like yes, like I had no gay friends for real. And like I would be in the straight clubs, girl, with the tray and with the real fish and just giving it, girl, just having a good time. But like I feel like for a long time I kind of like I don't know, maybe shut this part out. Does that make sense? It's like intentionally, yeah. Not intentionally, but just to like assimilate a little bit more, right? So yeah, my friend opened my eyes to it, and I really enjoyed it because it gave me a sense of obviously doing it for so long, for so many years. It has taken its toll, and it just feels like performative almost at this point, like routine. But like being in ballroom, I feel like I can be myself. Like y'all not judging me. Like I don't have to be a lady all the time. I'm like literally like I can just have a good time and like y'all know I'm a cunt for real. But I don't have to be like that all the time. Like keeping it together. So it just really was like a very refreshing experience for me, and I really thank my friend for like introducing me to this because I think this is like a piece of the puzzle of my life that I kind of was maybe missing, that I was maybe running away from subconsciously, right? So I really appreciate it. I'm not in here. I really appreciate all y'all because my own stuff fun.
Hey y'all. So for some of y'all that see me introduce myself, my birthday. So I'm new to the scene, but my experience in ballroom, um, I went to my first ball in 2019, which was I went to the Kiki Ball and Mainstream Ball for Pride Weekend in Atlanta. And so when I went to the Kiki Ball, I hang around boys. So I walked in and they thought I was a mother. And I'm like, no, I don't know nothing about this. I'm just coming to watch. But a lot of them was running up to me, and then I ran into one of my good friends that I'm friends with in the modeling world. So, um, yeah, so I'm a runway girl in real life. Thank the Lord. So, but I came into ballroom this year, this recent ball, from my sister Wu, and she's been literally trying to get me in the scene for a whole year. uh, but I'm one of those girls that I've been scarred by a lot of people in the community. So I don't trust a lot of people. Uh, and I literally tried to run away from it for a long time. And like I said, like this ball, y'all, I had such a great time just being myself and letting it out on the floor. Like I felt so good walking up in front of my people. Like I felt at home. So it felt good, and I just really thank my sister for bringing it out of me.
Oh, see, look this. Nikki, you wanna go? Go ahead, Nikki.
Hello, everyone. So I got introduced to ballroom when I was at Morehouse. One of my best friends, Alexis, saying she was walking, I think Bush Clean Rodents, drag rodents in, and she brought me to the ball. And she gagged the girls or whatever. And my first category was Jason. Yeah, no shade. I did that. So when we was at Morehouse, we used to do that a lot, like in Atlanta. So I used to go to the court, and they used to be Jason all the time. So I used to see it, and y'all know Kiki, like we went to the same school, and she would be there, and we would always be fans or whatever. And we was at Marty's one night, and she was like, I think it was tag team Jason, and she didn't have a partner. She was like, "Bitch, I know you know how to do this. Like, let's go." And I was nervous, so I went out there and did it. And got my twins, and then over there we did that because we was like, girl, we don't do this, so lie down, girl, I wouldn't put it down. So that was it. And then Sam was kind of the first person that like make me walk realness. Like we used to practice at home, and I just went out there. Like she told me everything, and then boom, I bought that business and we went ever since. Yeah.
Oh, okay. See?
I got into ballroom because I saw a video on YouTube in like 2014 of AC Prodigy and Listening German Jazz battling in France, and like I just never really like followed up with it, but I watched that video like so many times because of like how addicted I was to like the or like not addicted, but like how like enchanting like the moves were like, but and then I recently just got into the scene like last year. Juneteenth Ball was the first one I went to, and it's the same with Shikori. Like we both went to that. That was both of our first ball. So, but and then I got into Bazaar because one of the most viewed TikTok, like literally viewed TikToks, is a Bazaar of like the alien or like it's like the Mary, and then like the alien it gets snatched off of the person, and it's like an alien. And then has the baby. It's literally one of the.
And the baby was walking.
Well, I always seen like clips of people voting and stuff on Instagram because you know it was like going viral in like 2018. I'm like, what is this? I just know it looks fun. It's a move. So then Pose had came out, and then I looked up on YouTube Pose ballroom scene, and I found ballroom throwbacks. And so the first thing that came up was Naomi. So I started watching all them videos, and I just got into performance. And this was 2019. It's like it's the summer going into my senior year. I'm poor as fuck, wearing the same clothes every day. Just my mama's only gay child, so it's kind of like I couldn't do it in public, so I had to like just do it in my room and stuff. So I would just teach myself for like 2 years, and I joined the army, and I told myself wherever I get stationed, I'm gonna find a ballroom scene. So then I got stationed at Fort Hood, and I was there from like December, and then in October I went to Houston to the strip club Colors. And so then we was like, just outside. And then this man had came up to us, he was like, y'all going to the bar? I'm like, what you know about ballroom? What bar? And so then he showed us a flyer, and it was a Halloween bar in Houston, October 31st. My grands was on the Michael course, so I seen him on there. I was like, let me add him as a friend on Facebook. I think this would be beneficial for me. And so then he had ended up texting me, was like, hey, what you add me as a friend for? And so I was like, I want to walk bars. I want to be in the ballroom. He was like, what do you do? What do you walk? And I had told him, like, I vogue and stuff like that. And I sent him my clips. And he was like, come to this Kiki bar in Austin. And so then I had came to that Kiki bar. And I had gagged because it was really a moment. Like, I felt like I was on pose for a second. Like, it was really bad. And so then I'm like, okay. I'm going to keep doing it. Went to Houston, gagged. The girls just shaved me down. I had walked in. Everybody was looking at me like I was stupid. I had got on the stage, couldn't see nothing. Had messed up on one of my did stuff, got sat, 1, 2, 3. But I was like, this is fun. I want to
Internet. Oh, go ahead, John.
Well, I got into ballroom last year. Well, 2022. I'm into dancing, so I'm part of the modern dance team at UTA, and I wanted to have like my own style. So I looked up some dance styles and I found Vogue. So this is really fun, but I don't know anything about it. So I like looked it up and then like found it was like the legendary show, and then and then Renaissance came out last year, right? Yeah. So I got really into it, and I didn't really yes, but also I couldn't find anything that's like local. So I tried to Google stuff like where's like Kiki scene or like Main Street scene here, and then when was this? Last April, J Rock came to UTA with the seminar. Yeah, and then like okay, so that's how I got into ball. Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
My name is Latiera.
Oh.
I came into Ballroom, I want to say late 2019, early 2020. I was a clip girl. So, like, ever since I was around 14, I ran across it since America's Best Dance Crew, seeing Dance Evolution. Immediately, I was drawn to the Ebonies. I love Lola.
It's on the team though, but go ahead.
After looking into Vogue, I really got into Lola, and I really got into the Hurricane Katrina.
Of course.
And I lived. So I was just really like studying clips, looking at clips, thinking I was doing my 1, 2 in my room. But then I forgot about it for a while. Fast forward to 2019, I was in WeHo back home in LA, and I heard the beat pumping, and I was like, wait, that sounds familiar. So I followed it, and I went to this club, and it was a ball there. And that's where I met my Uncle Junior.
That's
right. Yes. So immediately he was like, do you walk? Like, do you do anything? And I was like, no. But it's cute though. And he was like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna get you. And you gonna do drags. I was like, oh, yeah? I never got in, but he was like, no, you gonna look cut. I got with him, the other Ebonies, chilling with them. We really clicked. And Junior, I didn't even know he did hair. He got me right, pushed me out there, and I was nervous. And he was like, yeah, this you. And from there, I just fell in love with it. Getting out there, baby chops, little virgin. But after that, I just really got into the community and fell in love with it.
Oh, see, we love it.
I just wanted to commend Wu on what she said, because I've never heard a trans woman say what you said, because you just said an experience that I've heard from what before, like being men and living a certain life and trying to find somewhere to be your authentic self, and Ballroom did that for you. That's the first time I've ever heard a trans woman say that she was living her fish life. I'm not doing none of that, but you felt like you was neglecting a certain part of your life. That's where I connected with. Because even though I was living a straight, I felt like I was doing a disjustice to who I really am. You know what I'm saying? And like, I even had a hate for gay people. I'm serious. And I that's why I understand when people say I don't do that gay shit and stuff like that. It's not that you hate gay people. You kind of hate what's going on with you, and you cannot really accept that because you want to be who you are. So that's the first time I heard this. Shout out to you for finding your tribe. Then the other one that got me was when you said one of y'all said that y'all found it on a clip and all this stuff. I didn't know I found Ballroom in 1999. To be honest, I didn't know that's what it was. It was you. I kept looking at the same thing over and over and over again, and it was Andre Mizrahi on the Apollo. I was looking at Amateur Night one night, and this man came out with this little blonde looking hair, and he was like, what? And Steve Harvey was like, what's your name? He was like, Andre Mizrahi. And he was like, what you gonna do, brother? And they was like, and so everybody in New York was like, okay, what are you about to do? When he said, and when he started doing all this stuff, I said, what the fuck is this man doing? Because I've always liked to dance. So when he started sliding across the floor, but when he turned upside down on his head and started kicking his feet, after that, I had fell in love with it, but then I also had got how everybody was trying to shade him in the audience and stuff like that. But I was so intrigued with what he was doing, I didn't know that was Ballroom. We fast forward, that was 1999, I was like 17. Yes, I was 17, 99. But I was 17, so you fast forward to me being in the military. Damn, 1999, I was 17, yes. They were like, bitch. I'm not Moses. So you fast forward, I moved to New Orleans. In the Navy, I was stationed there. And Hurricane Katrina comes. So when Hurricane Katrina comes, all my kids that now that I'm out, I'm going to the club, bounce music and bounce, and that was a lifestyle. So it's still a lifestyle and a culture in New Orleans. So with the Big Fritas, the Gotti Boy Chris, Sissy Nobi, Katie Red, the originator. So I knew all of them, and I was shaking down, right? But Katrina comes, when Hurricane Katrina comes, everybody dispersed. When everybody dispersed, I had to stay. So everybody would come back to my house when they had to come back to do stuff and everything. And one of my nephews, that is now my niece, had came back and they was like, Dad, you need to see Amaya, you need to see Amaya. I was like, well, what did Amaya do? Look at this serve the kids DVD. So they went to, they popped this DVD in. Her go Amaya and drag, because she already did drag shows, but to me, I didn't like her drag shows. But I always thought she was real fishy, because even Amaya, the boy version of Amaya was still, you would walk up and be like, why are you looking at all these gay folks? I have a whole fade, so when Amaya came back to the house, and he was like, look at it, and then they showed this video of her standing in front of all these people and everything, and this lady talking about, that is a fat queen, I want to see your knots, let me see your knots, and they telling Amaya, you don't have to do that, and I said, well, what is this? And then she had slayed everybody. They showed her laying on the table. And I said, what is she doing? She's serving face. And I said, and it was like Stasha, Temperance, all these people, all the big names could not take out this little girl from New Orleans that just put a wig on and a white dress. And I was just, and I seen, Andre, you don't have to prove a motherfucking thing. Now I'm connecting like, wait a minute. He turned upside down on his head. He started kicking his legs again. I said, ain't that the man from the Apollo? They were like, yeah. So now I'm like, what the fuck is this? Right? So I started getting like just looking and looking, but I never had a chance to participate. And so when I moved back to Dallas in 2007, Shamar knew Sasha, Whitney Garcon, all these people from living in Atlanta. And then they came here and they wanted to start trying to do Ballroom because it was already doing it in Houston. The that ball. Harajuku ball at 2020 and all this stuff. And they had Bartinis, China Doll, and all it was doing it, but I never got a chance to participate. We had Elm and Pearl. It was called Club Elm and Pearl. One day I said, I'm going to do the most fabulous category. I'm going to walk runway. And then my lover at the time was like, you too short. I said, man, I'm really gonna have to walk runway. So I decided to go in the room, because he had this little mini ball. I decided to go in the room, get his stuff, because I don't have stuff like that. I got some brown high rider boots, some gold express fit to your body pants, no shirt, put on body glitter. I was kind of, at that time, I didn't know good. Then I put on my jacket, spiked my hair up, right? I had hair. I went in the bathroom, because I used to watch my ex put makeup on a lot, and it looked just like a boy. So I put all the makeup on, and I looked no flaws. Popped out there, he didn't even know. Popped out there for runway, and set everybody in the runway line because I was trying to walk like Eva Pickford. Because you said I was too short, but I'm looking at America's Next Top Model, and this bitch is not tall. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is, that's how I found it. And they make it hard for Ebony's to be Ebony's. And the only reason I kind of had lit up a little bit is because I never wanted to be nothing. I didn't know that you were supposed to be in the house. I was walking runway and I just kept hearing EBON, right? That's right. Ebony, like the Ebony stays. And I'm like, who the fuck is Ebony? But I forgot that my kids had already been Houston. So if I'm their dad, they like, bitch, she's the fucking Ebony. And then from that point on, I was like, I'll get some of Ebony, right? So that's how I found Ballroom.
All right, for your kids. Ultimately, what's the story? All right, so we have the name, your name, how you got your name. The moment that ultimately, sealed the deal for you and Ballroom was like, ta-da, here I am. All right, so the next thing we're gonna write down is What was your first impression, right, of the scene, and what ultimately made you join a house if you have already been in a house? Right. So think about your very first time, not seeing it on via the internet, but your very first time being at a function. What was your first impression like, and ultimately what made you join the very first house that you became a part of? Right, so y'all kind of already heard what my very first experience was like. Wasn't here for it. Didn't really care for it. Ultimately, what made me join my first mainstream house, which was Con, was wanted to be a part of something that a lot of people wasn't a part of, and at that point, I think it was on like 5 cons. So that was why I became a con. In the Kiki scene, I was already more tenured in ballroom at that point. So Pink Lady was more just like a strategic move, if you want to say that, just to kind of, keep that short and simple. Would anybody like to share? If y'all already been writing.
What was the question?
The question again is, what was your first impression of the ballroom when you first seen it physically for yourself? And then what ultimately made you join your very first house?
Yeah, you know what you just made me realize? My kids made me join Juicy too. They just started saying, "You so fucking juicy."
My first real impression of ballroom was Levine's Taurus Ball.
Levine and J Rock's Toys Ball.
Excuse me, Levine and J Rock's Taurus Ball. So I had never been to a ball until that, and it was because UB had made us go out and record. Well, it was record. Devin was recording, and so they were like, "Well, you should go in to get the experience." And I was just like, he was like, "That's where most of the community gonna come from." So, okay. So when I went, I remember LSS. They had called out. I want to say it was the Paris. It was the Paris, and so when I seen her slam her back first, I was like, "Damn, these people are strong." So then, not called my sister hard, but it was like, "Damn, like how do you manage to like do that?" So then, as the categories kept going, I remember runway. I was really intrigued with runway, but it was like nobody was walking all American, so all I seen was European. So I was just like, this is cute. This is what they do. Like everybody said, America's Next Top Model. So then when I started seeing like the performance categories, that's when I really got into it. Cause I'm just like, damn, like this is the stuff that they show me at work, but like seeing it in person, it's so much different because it's just like you see the actual like passion and emotion that people put into it. So that was mine. What made me join my first house? Oh, maybe everybody. Okay, that was not shady. Don't do that. No, the Old Navy's had came out for Wednesday night and they were in a uniform look, so they did the Powerpuff Girls, and I thought that was like really dope because I hadn't seen a house do anything like that yet, especially just for like a regular Vogue nights. So to see like, and then they had just came out with that concept video too, so I thought that was really cute. So I was like, damn, but this is what they got up their sleeve. I wonder what else they're about to do. So hit up Chanel, and that was it.
What else did they do?
Stay on. I can tell you after the class.
My first ball was, of course, the Juneteenth ball that John mentioned. And the first thing I noticed definitely was like the house looks. Because I've always been a costume kind of person, like wearing, costume like wearing guard, cosplay, you name it. And I definitely noticed the house of G64 whenever they were wearing the Middle Eastern looks. And like I thought they were so sick compared to all the other houses. But I also noticed like the JVC house wearing like the school, and they just felt like such a team. I love that. And one person that really stood out to me, like if I could say like best dressed person there, was Chloe because she was dripping in diamonds, and I like every time I see her, I'm thinking, oh, she's gonna wear all her diamonds. And for like joining a house, Kiki, I stay 007, just because like I feel like Kiki's more like a experiment in ballroom where like I can walk a category. I don't want to represent a house and make a mistake and be onto about it. I also want to be able to do my own thing. I don't want to commit to anything besides the community. But as far as mainstream, joining House of Ninja was it wasn't really a choice, but it kind of just happened, kind of like J Rock. I have friends who were ninjas, and I was in New Orleans, and I really planned that ball out because it's my hometown. I wanted it to be more like a debut of my category mainstream, which is best dress. And I was there walking, I started hearing N-I-N-I-N-I-N-J. At first I thought they were chanting Nike, and I was about to stop walking, like, hey, like, I'm not a Nike, I'm in my house. But, and it's no shade to Nike, I love Nike, so I'm, like, you can consider me a Nike adjacent almost. But I just kept walking because I'm like, well, I'm already halfway there, and they haven't shot me yet. So I ended up getting my tins, and I got female figure. What you want?
No, baby, I need that mic back. Y'all, that's y'all
Thank you. When I first started walking balls, it was very confusing. I thought it was a little messy, a little weird and tricky, as we were saying, because I remember I was doing pretty good at Pretty Boy as a 007, and one day I had to battle Chirac ass.
And you got sacked.
And I got sacked because he showed a twerk video of me. And I said, how could they? How could they? But Nikki came to me after that and gave me a lot of really good advice. And I had seen Nikki process people from back to back. So I knew that she was the girl from Reds I should be talking to. And what made me actually join Juicy was Nikki and how persistent and Nikki and Sin was on me. Like, anytime I would come out, that was always on me. Like, just show me genuine love. Even though I was going against their house member, like Chirac, they would still just show me love. Like, you did so good. Next time, try this, you know. And so that kind of persuaded me to actually even go to the interest meeting. When I got to the interest meeting, because I did think Juices were like, you know, they were like kind of bougie in a way. But when I got to know them, I felt like, yeah, that was my family. We just all cool, regular, ghetto, real, yeah. Just like
can be deceiving.
So yeah, that's what I tried to see.
Behind you.
So for me, my first impression of like actually walking a ball was in Birmingham. It was actually a mini ball, and I walked best dressed because for the longest time, Clint Old Navy, Delcor, and Ashanti, they were always saying, "But you need to walk a ball. You need to walk a ball. You need to walk face." And I'm like, I don't really want to walk face because, you know, I knew of like the Rock Hills and Sasha. So I'm like, I want to be like that. I don't want to be, you know, anything less. So I walked best dressed, and I ended up getting to final battle against June Ebony actually. And with that, I lost. I was like, no, I don't know how I lost. You know, I was like, okay. And then so they kind of like still were pushing me to walk face. So like December of 2019 as well, is when I debuted. Well, when I walked face for the first time, and it was in Atlanta for the Jingle Jingle Ball, or yeah, the Jingle Jingle Kiki Ball. And I walked. Of course, I get 1, 2, 3 by Ashanti, because you know she was an Old Navy at the time. I was 007, and you know for me that once I walked in face, it was like, this is what this is really what I want to do, you know, because it's like I wanted to kind of like be able to express myself in drag without having to perform on stage, because I didn't like performing. It just wasn't what I wanted to do. And so fast forward, it's like March 2020, pandemic just about to start, and I get an inbox from mainstream. I get an inbox from Aaliyah, and she was like, "Are you in Ballroom? Are you in the house?" And so, my whole goal was to, be a 007 on both things, and so somebody reached out to me and like, "We see it where you want you," that kind of thing. I wanted to build a resume, and so I ended up joining DMV. Still the 007 on the Kiki scene until last year. But in that process over the years, I almost joined Old Navy like 3 different times in 3 different cities. Because I almost joined in Birmingham because of Ashanti. And then when I moved to Florida, I was gonna join again, okay, because of Ashanti, but the Florida mother or whoever, she never reached out to me. And then when I came here, because I knew Levine from DMV, and so it's like we had that connection, I was gonna join again, but that didn't happen. Ultimately, what I was looking for was like a family. And earlier in 2022, at Naomi's ball, she gave the 007 as a table. And at the table, it was me and Temptail. And Temptail sat beside me and we was like just talking. He was like, "You walking? Okay, when you get ready to walk, I'm gonna walk you out." And I was like, okay, him not knowing me, that I was like, okay. And so like that's how me and his relationship began. And then ultimately when he joined Nike, I was like, oh, okay. He was like, he asked me what did I think about Nike, and I told him the past this as well. I was like, I didn't feel like they were, showing up. It's like I was like the same couple of people walking, so I was like, that's not really what I was looking for. I was like, you show me different, then you know, it was a good chance just because I knew Chris and Devin and all of them, and so they were started showing up. And ultimately, like the decision was kind of easy. There was family, there were people I was already cool with, and they kind of like understood me as a person and how I communicate. So I joined them. They debuted last year, and yeah. So what I was looking for then was like really just a family because I felt like I was more than self sufficient on my own. Like I didn't need that help. I needed the support behind me. So,
Okay, good. We have like two more. Who else would like to share?
Hey y'all. So again, I'm new to the ballroom scene, but I only knew my sister Wu. I met her through a mutual friend that I'm barely friends with anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's nice.
but it was something different about her. Now again, we're from the same state, which we're from Tennessee. I'm just a little bit more messed up than her because I'm from Nashville and Memphis. So, but mm-hmm. For real. Yeah.
Praise God.
No.
Barbecue.
But
On the
from in Tennessee, the girls are just they mess. They shady. They jealous. A lot of people in this community will befriend you just to get a closer seat at your struggle. So again, that affected me really badly. So again, just to meet her, it was a breath of fresh air. Like I really enjoyed it. Being, I actually been attending their practices for the last 2 or 3 months before they actually just say, "Hey, we're gonna induct you." Oh yeah, I'm here for it. And again, just watching Legendary,
What season?
Just the tour, the third. I watched all three.
Okay.
I watched all three. But besides Juicy, the only house that I really like, I live for Tishu and Balenciaga. I love it. But I love the underdog. And I loved how Juicy Couture was the Kiki house and they got on there and they cut, big cut. But that's the aura that they exuded as far as the family. I got that from them. Just coming to their rehearsals, them checking in, and like I said, it just made my heart full. Um, so I really appreciate them, and I'm just excited on this new journey because again, I'm ready to eat the girl up.
Talk about it.
Y'all seen that one walk? Y'all
Baby. Yeah, talk about it.
I walked down.
Talk about it.
So, but I'm excited for Juicy. I am interested to see who will reach out to me mainstream, but I'm gonna let the girls fight.
Yeah.
It's a twist.
What's up, y'all? So first off, I want to say I'm on my only gay child too, and I honestly think I'm the only gay person in my family, but we ain't gonna tell you that. Then I was the original line 'em up, Miss Nikki. No, but my first impression of Ballroom was really competition. I really lived a straight lifestyle with work. I moved out here in 2014. I didn't know nothing about gay anything. My first event was 2018 at a block party, and they were just doing events. So they was like, just Dion, just walk out there for realness, one realness. Just walk out there for sex siren, one sex siren. You know, so I didn't know I'm a triple threat, runway, sex siren, and realness, but I didn't know much about runway at that time. But that my first impression was really competition. I found a way out in high school. I ran track, I ran cross country, I played football, I played basketball, I bowled. So I was a real competitive person. So I saw it as an opportunity for me to be competitive again. Until I actually got into it and actually got to understand what ballroom really was and what it offered to me. Why I chose the House of Juicy? I think the House of Juicy chose me. I didn't have a choice. In 2018, Dion would always be on the phone with the Atlanta Juicies, and I would be in the background, and he like, oh yeah, I got Shay right here. He a Juicy too, you know. So it took that for me to actually get into it. Once I got in and started walking and started winning, honestly, it just stuck with me. I started learning the ins and outs of ballroom. I started thinking about what it meant to me and how it expound on my knowledge or what ballroom really is, and it just kept moving from there. As far as Juicy, yeah, I ain't gonna go into mainstream.
Yeah. All right, so I'm looking around the room, and some of y'all tablets are not filling up, right? So I need y'all to do the work because this is all gonna make sense in the end. All right. So the next thing I want you to write on your tablet was the very first bar that you walked. I want you to write down exactly what happened at that bar. Did you win? Did you get chopped? What ultimately happened at your first bar? Underneath that, I want you to write. You know, personal girl thing. Whatever your very first event was, and whether it was a Vogue night, if it was a mini bar, if it was an exhibition bar, whatever it was, write down the title of that event, and then you are going to say what took place at that event. Underneath that, I want you to write down the last bar that you walked in our event, and tell me what happened at that event. All right, so y'all kind of already heard mine. My very first time walking, I made it to last battle. The last time that I have walked a function, I won 1,500. See? So what's the very first bar that you ever walked, or function that you walked? What happened at that function? So if you got chopped, if you got your tens and you processed, but you didn't win, be very specific with what happened. Okay, so again, if you walked and you got your tens and you maybe say you went first battle, you got set, say that. You know, be very detailed about it. Don't just say, oh, I walked and I got my tens. Okay, well, what else happened? You know, did you sit one person? Did you sit two people? Did you ultimately win? And then underneath that, you're gonna write the last bar that you walked and what was the outcome at that bar.
While y'all writing, the first ball I walked, I told you I was at Elmer Pearl, like 2008. I walked in at Elmer Pearl. I walked in. I told you, walked in. It was a gagger because I was tall, I was short, and I slayed everybody. Period. Slayed them, but I didn't know that that's what that meant. So, but I literally, now that I look back at it, I slayed everybody because I was on a mission to prove something to my ex. Ain't that something? The last ball I walked. Silky was gagging. She did not want me to watch, but whatever. I won. The last ball I walked, I got a trophy. Did I just get a trophy? Where do we go? Detroit. It was Detroit. Was it Detroit? No, Detroit. I won commentator versus commentator. I did, yes. I won so much, it's crazy, but one commentator was a commentator, and that was the last ball I walked. I walked up. I think I was the only one though. I think that's what it was. I think I was the only one. But I made it through though. I walked. Y'all finished? Y'all ready?
John.
So the first ball I walked was the Hustlers ball last year, and I was the only one who walked Bazaar, so I won.
There you go.
And then the last ball, this last one was I walked Sneaker, won that, and then but I'm glad somebody else walked Bazaar, but he sat me, and yeah, you know. That was everything.
Well, in your city versus sneaker, what happened?
Oh, I 1, 2, 3 this Sneaker versus Sneaker.
There you go. See?
Hopefully I get OTY.
So he said the first time he walked, the very first ball he ever walked was the Hustle ball last year. He walked back, and then he said he walked through again this year. This time he walked you through the person.
Oh, 1, 2, 3. Okay, go ahead.
So, y'all know, during the pandemic, Ballroom had came to Bigo. So, it was a ball on Bigo, and they was actually giving out coin. It was Kelly on there, Sanaya, Jack. I'm like, oh, these are the people that be on there. So I'm like, oh, let me see. They had virtual performance. I was like, okay, you know, this is me, and this is like 2020 around April. I was getting ready to enlist in the army, so you know I was just chilling really in my uncle's basement, and so I had pressed join, and I was just so scared. Like it had took 5 minutes for them to join me, add me on there, but every time I would see a new person pop up on the thing, I'm thinking it's me, so I'm like starting to get ready. So then I finally heard the sound of it when you joined. I had got on there, I started carrying, you know. Well, I thought I was carrying, but next thing you know, I just hit my head.
Oh, my
I hit my head on the live. They had kicked me off the live. And Kelly started reading. I was like, wait, is Kelly reading me? She's like, y'all need to make sure if y'all come up here that y'all are on y'all da-da-da. Like, y'all know how Kelly be reading. So I was like, wait, like, is Kelly reading me? And then at this past ball, I had my tens in a box, and the mosquitoes was trying to say that I was out of my box when I was in the corner. And then I had broke my nails during the battle, and I really wanted to sit down, and my friends was reading me. It's on the Teaser Talk television network. He was just reading me, yelling and screaming at me. And then I got to last battle with New Runway. You know,
Work that out.
yeah.
My first ball was Tokyo Yard ball.
Okay.
I walked executive realist. In the house that I'm playing in, it got a backstory about it because I literally stopped them to be in out furthest to Paris. I'm like, y'all gonna let me in? Like that. And she was like, well, you got to get out there and walk. So I was nervous as shit. Ended up getting out there walking. I set 4 people, and I won the category. Thanks to J Rock for having Main Street ball the next day. I didn't get the cash because somebody Main Street said me, but that's fine. But the last time I walked, it was this last weekend for the Hustlers ball. Unfortunately, Naomi Juicy got her lick back. Then meet me outside because you broke the tie. But yeah.
Who wasn't like this shit?
My first ball was the back to school mini ball back in LA. I'm gonna say 2 years ago. I processed a couple people like 2 or 3. You know, these moments was out there doing rodeo on the floor. I lost the last battle though.
Okay, last battle.
I was at Bush Queen performance at the time. Because I was still getting my feet wet and grad. My last battle, because I took a little break, was an emancipation ball. I had last year.
Last year. At the hotel?
Yeah. And Miss Nikki Satin. And I live for it though. That was a good battle. I live for it though.
I'm gagging. Who is you? I need to see you in
Okay. Anybody else like this shit?
So I already kind of touched on when I first joined. I walked Jason with Kiki. We didn't battle because we just got our chairs and we did. But what we really, we really care about is when I walk drag. So the first time I walked drag, the Sam brought me out. She helped me get ready and everything. I think I walked out there for female bigger realness. And they thought I was a femme queen. And I was like, I'm a drag. So they was like, damn, whatever. So then I won, did my big one. And so the last ball I walked, I processed. I won drag realness, and then I not won the pass.
Okay. Should be amazing. Yeah. But the first ball that you walked, what happened? Last ball that you walked, what happened?
Alright, so the first ball I walked was the awards ball last December.
What awards ball? The
Was,
Kiki awards ball?
yeah,
Here?
it was
Upstairs?
yeah.
Okay.
My best friend told me to just come in all black and look straight. He
Oh,
said look like a boy. I got my tears, but I got sat by one person.
Who was
No,
it?
I sat one person and somebody sat me.
You remember who said you?
I sat Jordan and Phenom sat me.
Okay.
It was everyday rhythms.
Okay. And then
The last ball I walked was Renaissance ball. And I 1, 2, 3 to everybody I walked with.
Ah.
So, and I won schoolboy rhythms. So.
Okay. Okay.
I thought he wanted. Anybody else?
I'm shy, sorry. It's my English. So the first ball that I walked, I wasn't even planning to walk the Renaissance ball, and I won the category Kiki labels. So I was wearing this hand painted suit, and and the last ball that I walked was this last one, Hustlers. I walked New Face, and I got my 10th, and we won grand prize New Face, and that's it.
Yeah.
Work,
Mamacita.
Who won again? Say it again.
It was from Bodega.
Bodega. All right. So the importance behind I'm gonna break it all around. So the next thing that I want you guys to list is, if you can, depending on how long you've been involved, because I know some of us have an extensive resume, so you probably can't count that much. But I want you to list. First, I want you to list how many times you've been chopped and what were you chopped for. So you want to say, if you got chopped because, you just weren't the category yet, or maybe brought the category wrong, or maybe it was just shade. But yeah, ultimately, I want to know how many times you've been chopped. And then underneath that, I want to know how many grand prizes to date do you have? If you need to make a guesstimate on that, a guesstimate. Sure. Let's just say accolades, period, right? So any grand prizes, monetary things you won, and or of the years that you had.
The house dress code.
Did you walk it? Yes. So first you're gonna list how many times you've been chopped. And then underneath that, list all of your accolades that you can count and or remember. Like grand prizes, money that you won, of the years that you acquired. So I'll tell y'all, I have now been chopped 3 times in my career. The very first time I got chopped was the very first time I walked. It was the Jingle Ball. I can't tell y'all why I got chopped because I didn't really understand what was going on, but I did get chopped. And then I asked the legendary Casio if I should have gotten chopped. He was like, hell yeah. I was like, damn. The next time I got chopped in New York. I got chopped because I didn't have on the right effect. But ultimately, Ashley gave me her 10, so fuck all that haters. And then the last time that I've been chopped was actually no, I've got chopped 4 times. So I've got chopped twice on the Kiki scene, obviously out of shade. But the first person who chopped me was Tito on the scene. Yes. Never been chopped to the red ball. I wish I did. No, but it's there. And then so I got chopped. Obviously, it was Ballroom. So yeah, so I've been chopped 4 times. In the Kiki scene, I've won. I want to say I'm at $5,000.
You got chopped.
Right, $5,000 girl. On the mainstream, I have won so much. Honestly, like just in this region alone, I'm probably the most winning performance person in this region. And then outside of this region, I've won a lot of major functions abroad as well.
Who chopped you at the 25th anniversary award Gulf Coast?
Oh shit, 5 times I did it. I got chopped for walking outside of the box, allegedly.
Who called the chop?
Go watch the clip. Yeah, do y'all work. All right. So if anybody would like to share the chops that you acquired and then the accolades that you acquired.
All right. I got chopped for runway at the 007 ball at the Sheraton. And the reason I got chopped is because Tony Miyaki Mugler Garcon Vuitton consistently. When I read the category, I'm still a kid in the ballroom. It said bring it in over. It said bring it in a over, all black over look. I still don't know the language or understand. So I said, what is over? What is over? So then I was like, what do they mean over? And so somebody told me, you gotta be looking good from head to toe. So I was like, that's easy. So I had on a black Versace turtleneck, I had on a black Versace fitted pants, the black Versace boots, I had on the Versace belt. It was like Versace draws. I was Versace out with the Versace shades. I already knew that I could slay everybody in runway.
Mr. Johnson.
What?
Don't be so detailed.
Oh, whatever. You say it and tell what happened. So when I went to the back, and when I stepped on the runway, he chopped me. And I didn't understand like what was the chop. I didn't even really get the step. It was a chop from the back. And so then Tito came out here with this motherfucking goddamn looking like the nun, had all this fucking just a bunch of shit, right? And it was like a bunch of, and they gave him his hands and was like, and then I heard him say, over, that's over. And I'm like, bitch, that looks crazy. So I was like, I'm not walking it if I gotta dress up like that, right? So now I know what over is. New York Awards, so they didn't understand what a dinner with your boss was. They wanted me to have my dinner plan. We're going on dinner with our boss, have your dinner plan. I thought they were saying to tell it. Because I don't know nobody going to dinner with their boss with an easel board and stuff like that. So I told them, you bitches ain't never been to a motherfucking dinner with y'all bosses ever in your life. I was that kid at the live ball. Now, DC Awards, I got shot because they said Peter Pan had a little bit too much fairy dust. So I called Dante Balenciaga and asked him, watch the throne. I said, do you want us to just come as Peter Pan? Or do you want us to be like the faggoty, like gayest Peter Pan? He said the gayest Peter Pan. I told him how he felt. He said, yes, like that. And when I got to the ball, everybody had on a Peter Pan costume. I was the only one that knew. So I got through for the realness part, and then when I came back to Twist, it was like, what did you got on? Something like that. Hi, y'all. And that was embarrassing because Jay-Z was on Kevin Jay-Z. Don't yell at me. Atlanta, I got chopped at the. Yeah, I did get chopped in Atlanta. I got chopped in Atlanta at the I Am Ball because Jamie Balenciaga said I was talking during the realness, and I told her that's because Tony asked me, do I have gum in my mouth? And I said, I don't have no gum in my mouth, and I heard one chop. And so she was like, you were talking, and I feel like that if you will, you don't have to talk. And so if y'all ever really see me walk realness, sometimes I just be like this. So it kind of, you know. But North Carolina, I got shot because I had a white horse on my polo shirt. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I had a white horse on my polo shirt, and then I got shot again in Atlanta from. Bitch, I'm telling y'all that I'm a 3-time legend. We haven't got to the accolades, but anyways, I got shot, and that's why I'm so. It's kind of like that's why I'm so like that with my kids or anybody that asks me about an effect when it says bring it in a color. I say go all the way to your drawers, to your socks, to anything that can be shown. Because when I was in Atlanta, they chopped me for a fucking horse. The polo horse was white, but it was all black. I was like, it's a black polo. You know what I mean? So, accolades, I got too many trophies. I did know that I have over 75 fucking trophies. Of the years, I probably the most of the year in person in Gulf Coast history. And I walked like 7 categories. And the only reason that is, it's not like I'm just that bad. It was because the Ebony's at one point had went from like 25 members to 5. And when we went to 5 members, we started walking a bunch of multiple categories to try to compete with the scholars when we was down here. So I ended up having to walk a lot of categories to try to, but I was good in it. And then now I've been doing as a 3-time legend. Yes, I advise anybody with a small house or a boutique house to have at least 2 to 3 categories that you can dominate. And even if you're not dominating in them, you might can knock somebody out for your sister or your brother. That's called being a house participant. I may know that I can't slay every bitch, but I'm not gonna be that hoe to get you out the way for my brother and my sister. So, anybody else? And 3-time legend really fun because I'm media too. I've been shot once, and it was by J-Rock. At a Vogue night, I was walking realist, and I had a stud on this side and a hoop on this side, and he said, wow. And this me not knowing what, like, I was still in the ballroom, so I didn't know. I was like, he was like, you real, but you can't go right here with these lows, you gotta take these out. I was like, okay, just take it out. Okay, so grand prize, I have 4. Grand prize, and I'm gonna claim this. I will be.
Speak it.
So, like I said, I was chopped at the Ballroom Bigo, then I got chopped at a mainstream bar in Kentucky for running into a barricade. And then I got chopped that same night for trying to go back out there and Philly with the OTA performance. They had chopped me. Then I got chopped a week later at the Kiki bar here for not doing the slow motion move. Then I got chopped at Slash the Wing out of Shade. And then I got chopped at a mainstream Vogue night. It was calling for all black, and my white underwear was showing, and my greens was being my greens. As far as my wins, I won my first ball down on Elm Street. I won the Legends Ball, I won the Father's Day Ball, I won the Crayon Box Ball. I won the Renaissance Ball twice. That's all the Keeper balls that I can think of right now. I won the Bouncy Zero Ball New Orleans. I won the Prodigy Ball Aftermath. I won Drags and Female Figure overall. I won the Ballroom Throwback Awards Ball New York. I won Behind the Music. I won the Pride Ball in Little Rock, and I just won the Detroit.
Let's motherfucking go.
You're a really nice bitch.
Those, all these wins from the Prodigy Ball to now was this year.
Ah.
I heard that.
Yeah, for that.
Let's get it started.
I'll make this quick. I've never been chopped.
Oh! Eat that up.
I'm a person that I learn from other people.
Oh,
so I actually live with people, so I see and learn from experiences. So I'm like, all right, I want to do that. So in Kiki, I think I got 2 of the years, and I'm going the other year again. Mainstream, I have 1 when I first joined, and I'm going the other year again. I think I have over 20 grand prizes, and that's including my Kiki, Vogue nights and stuff. So usually anytime I
Okay, line 'em up.
Okay. I'm gonna have to ask you just for the one time. She said she never been what?
Chopped or screwed. Okay. No. Okay. So for mine, I've been chopped 3 times. I've been chopped one time in Vogue Night for and Kiki, and that was in All American Runway by the legendary Wayne, because I didn't bring it in effect. I knew I didn't, but I thought I was gonna get through anyway, and it showed me a motherfucking lesson. I had 2 chops in mainstream. My first ball debuting as a T-She, I was chopped for Pretty Boy, because there was some haters. And I was chopped in, was it New York for All American for my effect. But as far LA for my effect. See, I be all over the world. But as far as state to state, region to region, but as far as my win, honestly, I've been walking for almost 5 years now, so I have so many grand prizes I can't name them. But as far as my of the years, 2020 of the year schoolboy, of the year All American, and I tied for of the year on sex siren, but they gave it to the other person because he had been walking more. 2021 of the year pretty boy, of the year All American, of the year sex siren. 2022 of the year pretty boy, of the year All American. And I think it was a tie between me and Chris for sex siren, and Chris ended up getting the votes for that. And then in mainstream, my first year was last year, now of the year and pretty boy, and of the year and All American. So yeah.
Okay. Listen. Listen.
So yeah, I only been chopped twice. My first time was chopped, like my first time ever walking at Morales, and got chopped because I had on pajamas for free. I got chopped at the Ellis Ball this year, the People's Choice Awards, because I walked. I forgot the category, the fashion category, it was the first category, and they said I got chopped because I didn't look like a everyday patron.
Oh, you was walking best dressed spectator. You didn't look like a spectator.
Yes, and that's what they said to me. Yeah, I got chopped. I don't know.
Because he had to walk. Did you walk again?
No, I didn't walk again.
Yes, you did. You walked one way.
Oh, I didn't walk runway. Yeah.
So you got chopped because you're not a spectator.
Oh, you're not a spectator. That's why I got chopped. I wasn't a spectator.
Yeah, that was a you problem.
My first year walking, I won a lot. Honestly, I don't know how many times I don't really keep track of that, honestly, to be honest, y'all. But across mainstream and Kiki, I probably won like 20, 25, 30 times, if we including Bow Nights as well. Mm-hmm. My first year walking, I was running for Pretty Boy. I only lost to my house father. Thank you. Last year, I processed the girls and won Pretty Boy of the Year. Still the current reigning Pretty Boy of the Year. And I will be Pretty Boy of the Year this year.
I don't know about that.
Oh, we're going to see it that.
Okay.
Oh, we're going to see it.
Okay, let him talk.
All right, so let's make it all make sense, right? And I want to thank everybody for participating, right? Because that's the key ingredient to these classes. So why is it so important to be so detailed with your resume? All right, so we're gonna talk about the ugly first, right? So we've all seen people read, we've all seen the shade being thrown, all of that. And it is very important and vital to you as an individual to live in your truth, right? So in living in your truth, I do truly believe that when you live in your ultimate truth, nobody could ever rub you the wrong way with your truth. I.e., meaning when people typically get into it in ballroom, the first thing that they're gonna read is your body of work. Okay? They are going to make you feel less than based on the things that you've done. You know, bitch, you just got chopped. You can't say shit to me. Right? That's, classic, right? And if you yourself live in your truth, that won't offend you, correct? You will also know how to pick your battles when trying to, have that type of exchange with an individual. If I was a person and I just got into ballroom 3 months ago and I just got chopped 3 times, I would not be trying to get into it with a bitch like Nikki, because again, what am I gonna read her about? that is going to be a demolish on my behalf because she's going to then run my resume back down. Bitch, you got chopped not one time, not two times, but three times. You know what I'm saying? And you out there, now you in your feelings because again, you picked the wrong battle. That's not the battle you want. You signed up for the wrong battle. All right, so living in your truth, that avoids you again ultimately allowing your emotions to make you do or act out in the type of way that ultimately is not going to be cause for, right? The other beautiful side to that is again, if you beat a bitch to the point, then at that point, go ahead, real fulfill. You start out by saying, yeah, although I've been chopped 3 times, Miss Mamas, let me tell you about yourself. Because then, what can she reach you about? I've already read myself. You see? So you have to know strategically how to use your resume for your benefit. The other key thing about being very detailed about your resume is it puts you into a perspective so that everybody is clearly on the same page with you, right? So y'all, we've all experienced where somebody is hyping themselves up, right? And then you have to leave with this question. Where was the ball? It was a ball night. Okay. Who was on the panel? X, Y, and Z. Okay. Who walked? You see what I'm going with this? Because all of that makes a difference. One, you're not about to try to sit here and tell me that you're on my level when, bitch, I have grand prizes on major stages. And the only time you won was the vote night. The only time you won was with some people who are on your level or judging you. The only time that you won is when nobody's walking. Does not equate to the same thing, right? But here you are somebody who also walks vote nights, who also wins vote nights, but you also win grand prizes in this region. You win grand prizes in that region. You're walking against this person who's also a known person. You're walking, you see what I mean? The resume looks different from that standpoint. So again, even in your own journey through Ballroom, it's okay to ask questions. Remember what I just said. Ask where? Who was on the panel? Who was walking? Those are the 3 things that you always want to know. Because otherwise, a bitch could just be talking themselves up and not even be there. You know what I'm saying? They'd be like, bitch, I'm the most winningest bitch that you've ever came across. Then you do a little background research and they'd be like, girl, she only walked road nights.
In the barnyard.
Oh. All right, and then the other thing is, at some point, ultimately, I feel like although most people don't lead with this, but ultimately what I really enjoyed about Ballroom and every scene that I've come in contact with was just the accolades and the way that the community kind of receives certain people. Like when I got into drag, I ultimately started wanting to do drag from watching Raquel. It was the Stars of the Century DVD, and we was watching, and she came on, she did this Tony Braxton number. And I said, bitch, I want to get paid like that. And so that's what started that. And then in Ballroom, seeing how people kind of interacted with legends and how, you know, certain girls like Cassandra, Katrina, people like back in the day, Magic, were kind of received by the community. I said, no, I want that for me. You know what I'm saying? I want to ultimately one day be a legend. And in becoming a legend, at some point you are going to have to repeat this resume. They're going to ask you, what is your body of work? That is not a disrespectful question, okay? Your body of work should be something that you are proud of, every aspect of it. I will never not tell somebody that I ain't got chopped 5 times. Bitch, I got chopped 5 times, 5 different ways. You know what I'm saying? So I can relate to you on that front. And again, it also allows people not to come into this realm with, you know, expectations that are ultimately not true. You know, we will all get chopped at some point, Nikki. I'm just saying. But yeah, so ultimately, like again, it's just so important for us to all understand that it's not a bad thing. Chops were designed for the purpose, not only, you know, the shady part of it, but it's designed to teach you, right? Just like in any other setting, You know, in school, when you made bad grades, those bad grades were essentially supposed to motivate you to do better. You know, some people just didn't give a fuck. But that's ultimately the reason why we get grades in school. The same thing in ballroom. We get chopped ultimately to teach you, well, baby, as y'all heard from more tenured people who have been chopped on different fronts, you know, you can be chopped for your effect. So if a judge is not doing their job and chopping you, ultimately we are creating a notion that is not true. We're telling you that you are the category when indeed you're not the category, right? So that's why understanding the culture is so important and really taking in and understanding that a chop is not the means all be all. I have run into people who have ultimately said, fuck ballroom after I'm being chopped once. Like, baby girl, it's not that deep. Like, it's thousands of other balls gonna happen after that. That may not always be your outcome. You know what I'm saying? But go back and reflect and see why did they chop you? You know, it could have ultimately been because of a simple mistake, a simple misunderstanding. The word that ultimately fucks a lot of people up is what's that word? A hint of or a touch. That's it. That's how they word it. Whenever you see the word a touch of, and inspired by, a touch of, inspired by, a creative effect, all of those things are open to interpretation. Right. Exactly. So ultimately, go into those spaces already knowing one, especially like if you're in another region, you don't know. If you're not teaming in ballroom, you 9 times out of 10, you probably not gonna know the panel. But if you are teaming in ballroom, you can look at the panel and kind of ideally know how certain people judge, what they are looking for, and ultimately make that decision. That's why on Wednesday nights, I begin to say, look at the panel, make a decision because it is your choice to go out there and be judged. And whatever the outcome is, you cannot be upset because you decided that you wanted to be judged at that point, right? So again, like in those settings, understand that those words are subjective. You could go out there and be the category, and somebody else's perception of what those words meant just did not translate in what you have on, right? So in that chop, you shouldn't go and be offended. Cool, I got chopped. Let me get my shit together for the next bar. Rub it off. Keep going. Because again, that is not the me all the means all be all because there are thousands of balls these days. There's a ball the next day, a ball the next week, something else out there for you to make another moment, right? And capitalize off of that. Understand that when you start off like, my child who is revered now, nationwide, nobody would ever think that she's been chopped or has gotten set as many times as she's gotten set, right? And I think ultimately we probably only had one conversation where she was just not feeling it. Like she didn't want to hit. Like, fuck all this shit. Like the fuck, this just don't make no sense. And I'm like, but girl, on the back end, like, come on, let's compare. Like, how many times you lost, how many times you won? Yeah, you're winning more. So don't let that affect you, right? It's still all a part of it. You are going to lose. Lead with that, right? When you introduce somebody else to ballroom, start the conversation off by setting expectations with all the fuck shit that's gonna go on, right? Don't bring them into this culture misleading them, saying like, "Oh, the grass is definitely green." Color me. Yeah, because I have again encountered a lot of people on this scene that ultimately get a bad taste for ballroom because they're not brought into ballroom correctly. They have different perceptions and their expectation is not realistic. They think, oh, this is supposed to be, I hate when y'all try to use the fun word. I thought this was supposed to be fun. Well, guess what? To us, get chopped is fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why a lot of times, again, when you are first coming to ballroom, you shouldn't have expectations exceeding anything that you don't have knowledge to. Like, you shouldn't have expectations to sit on the panel when you first come into the bar because, again, that comes with so much more that you are not even understanding that it comes with. You should not be eager to be a parent because, again, you don't understand what that looks like. Your main focus should be having fun, understanding the culture, learning your community, right? Like these type of settings are important because again, ultimately we are one body. And what ultimately kind of triggers me sometimes about our scene here is that we're not consistent in our message about unity, right? We want to speak about, well, every time we out of town, we act like a community. Well, why we can't do that when we in town? That's what be bothering me. Like, yeah, it is true. When we out say, bitch, we unbreakable. But bitch, when we all here behind closed doors, y'all be running amok. And I just be like, girl, let's just not do that. Because at one point in time in our history, and anybody who's been here since 2019 can attest, before the venues and all these staff functions that y'all have today, nobody cared about the extra stuff. It was literally about fun, competition. Bitch, the juices will win Wednesday. Bitch, everybody went home for 7 days, talked over it, reported back to Marty's the next Wednesday, and it was on and popping. Let's go. Let's see y'all win again, bitch. It was that type of energy, you know what I'm saying? And again, nobody ever took anything out of context or anything, but of course, knowing that with growth in the scene, these type of changes are going to be made. We start to then venture out. We got new venues. We have now bigger monetary prizes being put out. And ultimately, like the scene today literally took about a year to flourish to what we are now. And it's not to say that we are at our end. We are only just beginning. Every ball, somebody new is popping out. If y'all are paying attention, every ball. So that's only growing our community, but we all have to do the work. It's not just up to y'all leaders. It's about everybody. Y'all have to understand that y'all are all important to the machine that is the Gulf Coast ballroom scene. Your history plays a vital part. And when we speak about the history in the grand scheme of things, we will all reflect one day and be like, y'all remember what happened at the Hustlers Ball, bitch? Do y'all remember what happened at the Crayola Ball? And everybody can just sit around and key, because again, we all shared that experience as one body. Okay? So ultimately, like, remember, in resume building, you want to stick to the facts. Do not, I encourage you, do not falsify your resume. Especially nowadays, like back in the day, you could definitely get away with falsifying your resume. Wasn't no video recording, bitch, you could claim anything. Now what you want not to do is, be talking about your resume around a bitch that was there. And then she spooked your set. That's the only way that you get fucked up. But this day and age, we are now in the social media era where everything is recorded. Anything can be researched. So you never want to sit there and be false claiming your resume, because then you got a whole nother story on here. Now you've been looked at as the fraud, Now you just a liar. We can't even trust you. Now we're gonna have to reach you somehow. And so, we went over emoting, controlling your emotions. This was about resume building. In our other class, we talked about marketing and managing your career. And they all tie into each other so fluently, because again, even in marketing and managing yourself throughout your ballroom career, let's say, although, in my mainstream career, I've been a part of 3 houses, okay? And in my journey through exploring these houses, when I got ultimately to the House of Chanel, I remember vividly Dee Dee asking, like, well, what have you done? Tell me about yourself. What is your body work on the floor? So those conversations will come up in any given moment, in any given setting, because people want to know. Again, when you reach that moment where you are an up-and-coming legend, and people are starting to buzz about maybe deeming you, the conversation is going to come out again. What has she done? What is your resume? They need to know it all. Bitch, I started off doing this. I did that. And I set this person. And I've won this. I've also got chopped for that. But ultimately, here I am presenting to you a real authentic body of work, okay? And so, be proud in whatever your body of work is, and understand that you ultimately have you hold the key to your resume. Every time you get on the floor, you have to think, what is going to come out of this? What do I want from this? And whatever the outcome is, go back home and review it. Watch your clips, get advice, reach out to other people. I would never encourage you to stay so engaged because at that point, networking, you have to network. You never know who you might need at any given time. Girlfriend shit is a thing. That's gonna be in our other series. Some shit that y'all want to talk about. People want to only talk about it in a negative connotation, but believe me, everybody has a girlfriend. And the more girlfriends you have, the more successful you'll be. That's a real thing. No, for real. Right. And so even like again, to know getting to know your community is another thing, right? Because we all have all shared stories to where y'all been on the outside looking in. And it to you at that moment, it looked a completely different way. Now that you are now inside of it, you have a different viewpoint. You now have people that you reflect on and say, damn, bitch, you was the first bitch that saw for me. And now look at me. You know, because I ultimately, and I think I can speak for people like Dion and my dad when I say the most rewarding part for people when you become an icon or a Hall of Famer is to see the growth of people that you saw on the sidelines. Like I always speak to the twins. Like, bitch, y'all have been around Ballroom for a good minute. And it took y'all this long to finally just really be a part and look at everything that y'all done. The reservations that you had before they got on the floor, they no longer have those type of fears. You know what I'm saying? And anytime I'm in Marty's, I don't know if y'all ever caught on, like in our earlier beginning stages, we always were trying to think about categories that we could bring that would allow people who did come prepared to ultimately engage because that's the only way that we can build the community. So we started having club wear instead of best dress. That category was built so that we can attract more people to our scene, and so that they can get the confidence that ultimately all of us have endured when we had our reservations like, either you was like, I ain't really with that gay shit, or you may have just came on the wrong night and they was really on some shady shit, and you was like, nah, cause I'll beat a bitch up and I ain't on that. And, but ultimately now that you're a part, you like, it ain't even really that bad. And this is kind of fun. And I can't wait to shade a bitch, because we all, we all do it, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so ultimately, again, I just want to thank everybody for coming out to the class. Keep these papers dear to you, right? I know a lot of people that, who is one person? I'm trying to think of their name. It's one person in mainstream that literally has wrote down every time Andre. A lot of y'all don't, not Miss Rodney, but Ebony. Ebony. He has written down every single win, lose, chop, this whole entire thing. Like, has not missed a beat, right? And again, because ultimately, nobody can tell your history better than you. You've ultimately lived it. Nobody's really, micromanaging you like that to try to make sure and fact check you on that. But again, you out of anybody should know your body first, this person, right? So ultimately, thank you guys for coming to the class. We do have refreshments available in the back. Thank you. And then so our next class will be the status quo class, and then after that, we will have our next series. We'll switch up a little bit. But we only have two more. We have the status quo, and then I think this is gonna be the last one. I think the status quo and the final exam will be next Monday, and then after that we will have a graduation ceremony where ultimately we will give our awards and things of that nature. Yes, and crown your valedictorian that can give you guys a speech. And then we will. When is the next core meeting? 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, it's gonna be on a Monday, a Tuesday. In 2 weeks, we will have a core meeting. I would love for everybody who has participated in Ballroom 101 to come out to that core meeting, so we can talk about how we can make the next series more accommodating to people to be able to come, things that y'all want to talk about, topics, and then ultimately At that point, because a lot of people did reach out to me about also assisting in like teaching different courses, so we can all map out what that looks like together.
I want to say thank you for doing this because I haven't made every class with completely with our schedules, so we'll be in practice, but we made an intentional thing because it was after the ball to make sure that we would have a game here tonight, and we did that too. Not to forget our thing, get back football, but to see these kind of conversations and to see this is the biggest part of community building, you know, and a lot of times we only get to see each other at ball, so we only know each other's ballroom personality and persona, and we have, you know, took in things that other person said about people and we internalized that, so we have different narratives built in our head around people, and we get in these moments and we get to exchange a different type of conversation and ultimately get closer. So I say, even outside of this, continue to do this. Thank you for this. That's the iconic shit that I've been talking about, and that's like,
All right, so yeah, we have tacos at the back. Please feel free to have your taco and some beans and some rice. And then, you know, if y'all bored, they have Murder Mondays.
Murder Mondays, don't cover alcohol kids at Murder Mondays. Only grown folks.
All these people are grown. Everybody should have their own, everybody should have their own bill. Because I don't care who in there watching. Be like, I don't give a fuck who watching.
Nah, sis,
What you want to do?
Pray tell me. You know what I'm saying? Y'all on females? Yeah.